Just be done. Or just for my communication. To send it up. Um, so some topics to discuss. Whenever, well, there are certain events that occur where I attempt to rest consistently. So the goals are the same: visibility, predictability as far as scheduling, and that's normal. And people that are strangers keep trying to force an extreme for whatever their motives and agendas are that we're not privy to. Um, as far as the standard of security that has to exist more than 24/7, and the standards that have failed, I don't really know where we're at with formality as far as auditing and taking inventory on what went wrong. We can't ever be so lax about that, and I don't get the impression that our dad, Charles, was. And we weren't, me and my husband aren't products of divorced parents, if that's the right way to say that. So we never, the autonomy of like some parents, when there's a custody battle, need for mediation for transfers of their children when their children are minors. And so I don't know that there was a lack of congruency or communication or logistics or continuity and coordination. But for some, in my humble opinion, as we're trying to ensure that there's an appropriate public narrative available, because that continues to endanger my life. So when I see Gareth and I see Forrest posting pictures of someone who's not real, why are you doing that? Because you're compromising my safety, and I'm already working against so much. And you do that, and I almost have to put you in a category of like, you don't exist. Because you obviously don't respect me and my husband. Why would you do that? So I don't know where the dads are at with like dad Steven Tyler and dad Mick Jagger. I don't know where they're at with dad Charles Edward, but we can't tolerate that. Novak posting inappropriate stuff with his wife. Cristiano is not a control freak. He has standards. And we have a few other brothers that are soccer players that one's been accused of having a major ego. But he is who he is, right? He's not failed the capacity that's him, arguably whether or not he's even at full capacity. Yeah, I mean, I don't ever have to be nice to my brothers. They know they don't. That's not who that was, right? So really quickly, just to get to some fact-based information, because we work to support a timeline and a narrative and trace points, which means that on a Wi-Fi network, cybersecurity and physical security, there is the breakdown. So our primary goal, despite camping outside, and the exhaustion, right? Consider how exhausting this can be for staff members at the various cafes if people start to unnecessarily bombard and ambush the cafes and create false accusations and claims. And they're too busy at the counter. Their job title and their job description is really only at the counter. It's like a server or cashier, if that's the best way, or a cook, a line cook. They're in the back cooking. I don't even know, we haven't been able to review the formal paperwork of policy, procedure, and regulation for job description of restroom, like restocking the restroom, making sure the restroom's clean, and who cleans the kitchen, right? So what is your safe certifications are posted here. They're not posted at the other cafe, which is of concern. So anyway, the one biological family member named Sean, whose first initial last name is D, had mentioned at some point in time he was wrongfully arrested and he was incarcerated for about 7 months apparently. And so around whatever time, maybe only a month, he said 7 months, but it may have only been a month. So whenever he went into prison and got out of prison, may have been my first interaction with him. And Frank and their Jessie, who is not me, but this is kind of what she looks like. Frankie and Jessie look like this, but this is not what I look like. May have moved. At some point, it ended up here, like in between January and March of 2023. Is that correct? And so in that time, I was able to stockpile some stuff that I found, which almost seems there was stuff that was like on the sidewalk in the trash. So there were a few suitcases, storage bins, like, so I'm trying to understand, again, there's a disruption to the timeline that I can't, in a fact-based way, confirm the number of students that move in August versus the number of students that are transfers in December, January. So that's where I'm perplexed. But so anyway, Sean had mentioned that he had a membership to Planet Fitness. Sean is not me. Frankie's twin sister, Jessie, who may have forced her identity on me. And so we're so sorry to Frank Jr., who is hypothetically one of our dads, which means that Frank Jr. and Mary Jo are kind of like another set of parents for us, although we don't trust. So this is tough to have to say that Frankie and Jessie have caused so many problems, especially in consideration that they were wrongfully separated from the biological mom. The biological mom didn't know, and the woman that raised them didn't know that she wasn't the mom. So the level of like bad is really bad. And then there's the real Maud that I suppose is in like witness protection. So anyway, they still caused a lot of problems. We don't know, we know a little bit about where they would spend their time in the summer. And that was a tough crowd, if that's the best way to say that. So there's an intergenerational group at this private community swim club, all talented, incredible people. And they just weren't really nice to Frankie and Jessie. But then there are other girls that would have grown up with Frankie and Jessie that would say Frankie and Jessie were popular and they were not. So from one age group to the next, and then amongst the peer subgroup, that's the best way to say that. Whereas the girls that would have considered themselves not to be as popular then began to form these alliances with older girls, and there was just this like inverse first relationship of ships moving in the night that became problematic. A superiority, inferiority, like I don't even know if that like just over. So hygiene is really important, especially if we're not able to clean our clothes. So Planet Fitness had the tanning booths, so we don't go tanning. And we don't know what's up with Nikki and Christiana, Nikki Jam and Christiana. Afro, the other Nikki's complexion is a little more olive. Some people will say that. But we are naturally very fair skinned. We were not able to clean our clothes. We need the infrared light to make sure that certain bacteria wasn't growing on our skin. So we're able to just like washing out pantyhose, even the concern of this policy and procedure thing, right? But you know, we were so shunned and chagrined from even prior to point of contact, and something happens. We want to get to the point, so we keep our devices with us because we can't trust that people aren't going to try to take. And when we would shower, there was a hook outside of the shower, maybe in a few instances inside of the shower, but we didn't want to be taking up like if there's a shower for physically disabled people, we're not supposed to like be there. We tried to optimize our time. I don't know if women that are pregnant are not physically disabled, but I mean, it's, you know, you kind of need a little more space to maneuver, although usually pregnant women don't go to gyms like that. They don't even really go to this. So we were already like in an outlier situation. So we'd hang our stuff on the hook. We'd have to make sure there's no water damage or condensation, precipitation damage to our devices. So at some point, like the level of, what are the words, vocabulary words? Not animosity, hostility, off-kilter, unrelenting effort to just stalk us. You know, you're not, there's so many indications of positioning in a large communal space. Like we're usually always over to a corner at a sight line. That was at the other cafe. Like we're really not interacting with people, but we don't isolate either. I mean, these people have egregious, I don't have anything productive to say as far as that topic, but we stayed visible. We remained within the normal confines and limits of social etiquette and social distancing. And because we didn't have the supporting documents of the legitimacy of who we are, we had what else could so at some point, despite our efforts, from turning on the shower water to trying to as neatly as possible with our, if we had soap, everything into the bag, and so from some point to disrobing, whether the shower was off, whether the water faucet was on or off, and trying to keep our clothing dry, even though it gross, and the water hitting our skin, and maybe being able to get some video footage on the phone, which is this. And then putting the phone, either we tried to keep the phone in the shower stall, we were not able to, or cubicle, the shower. Something happened. There was an aerosol agent, more likely than not, that was, we say dropped. We had documented that at 1255 South 22nd Street as well. They're putting stuff through the vents through certain times. As far as driving for Lyft or Uber or Lyft, and the passengers getting into the car having these conversations as if I'm not even there, talking about logistics and coordination. Like, they sell marijuana, they can sell you any kind of marijuana. Like, what the fuck do these people think they are? Leaving stuff in the back of our car, trying to pass from one passenger to the next. And they're all black. They're all black. Even the issues over where I'm staying responsible and accountable for myself, they're all black. They're all black people. And then they'll occasionally send in the outliers, right? But they're black and they're a problem, and we don't want them on our property. And they can't handle the truth, and they can't handle the boundaries. And so what have they done? They don't know what to win is. Because if you wanted to win, you wouldn't be orchestrating this way. Even at the school, who does that bitch think she is? You're standing there, you're trying to threaten and intimidate me? I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have even realized, because I don't know who you are. That's a problem person, correct? Disgusting. The colorism issue of who considers themselves high yellow or not, I don't care. Like, you're not part of my family is the bottom line. And they're too disruptive. Just want to make sure that if there are any topics to discuss. So Sean being at an abandoned building, and I don't know where we're at with that. And the way that he chooses to be irresponsible and reckless in his life has nothing to do with it. Now, if he was gossiping about me and making fun of me and trying to coordinate to hurt me, then he needs to endure the consequences of his actions. And he's dishonest. He's dishonest or he's inebriated, one or the other. So there's either accidental omission because he's not cognitively, he's impaired, or, you know, we can't be around someone that's so high risk. And I don't know why he keeps being allowed to wander as if he's not a risk of harm when he is. And I can't be the person. I can make the call if I'm in my role of authority, but I can't make the call because I don't have the supporting documents of legitimacy of who I am. But whether or not he was coordinating with the gym to cause problems, I could not proceed as if that were what was going on, even if that were a work. So, you know, this has been absolutely horrible is correct.